So yeah, I just wanted to start working with these, like I mentioned, like start using the cards in different ways. Like if I have like one card and I have like 6 different colors, how do I take this and like start to, I don't know, have fun with it and create like animations and like cool shit. So this one, I literally, just use a plane. So basically I made a kind of like master file, and I made all the different colors and I joined them like I mentioned. So these are all like one mesh here instead of like me having an empty wrapping everything up. Makes it a lot easier to work with. But you can see I have each color. I have red, I have orange, I have green, and I keep them all inside of like one collection. And that collection basically allows me to come in here with the geometry nodes, and they have a collection kind of neck node, and I can tap into those cards and separate them, so I'm working with each one individually. And then that lets me do some cool stuff, like basically just create a grid that goes and spreads them all out, and I can go and rotate them ever so slightly based off of math. I don't know. I don't want to get too into this one. This one's not actually that fun. This one's not too wild. We'll get wild in a second. Don't worry. We'll get wild. So this was when I started to make some memes. I don't know if everybody saw, but there was like a meme going around where someone posted a stack of memory cards like this, and they were like, this is 1 megabyte of memory or something. So I was like, oh, I literally just have a memory card mesh. Let's go. So I made a geometry node that basically kind of creates like these kind of stacks. And to create the kind of randomness, I created these localized groups basically. So it's basically sliced into layers like horizontally. So you can kind of see it. Every third layer or so, or second, third layer, it repeats. But if I break it up enough, it doesn't seem like it's repeating. So, yeah. But you can see here I basically use an index to like offset it. And I go literally and I manually offset like 3, 4, 5, and stuff like that. And I think you can see here I do, kind of like set ranges here to let it know like I want you to make 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. But we'll get into the node group real quick so you can just see it. It was very similar to the last one we were just looking at, where I basically just take a grid and I'm using it to display the collection of memory cards. But the important part is using a noise texture to be able to go in and offset the colors so that it actually looks like random, and it's not just like putting them in the order and then repeating the order. And then to create the kind of randomness that we need, because a noise texture, what's crazy about Blender is you'll come in here and you'll put in a noise texture and you'll use this group 5 times and it'll be the same random. Like it is like using the same noise texture, so it's like the same data. It's not like recalculating it and giving it a new something, variable to change the conditions. So literally you're just like getting the same random. That's not random, it's it's the same. So to create the randomness, you have to come in and actually give it some sort of value to kind of offset it, and offsets each of these layers. And that is the W property here, which we saw in the last stack. I can take us back. Was the index that I offset it with. And that basically just lets me get different colors. You can see here, let me pick, I guess, the top stack. That would be smart, right? So many layers. You can see here this controls, it's basically like a seed for the texture, if I had to get technical with it or something. This one was a little fun one to just whip up and like play with like the limitations of geometry nodes. And like I said, like realizing like, oh, when you want to do something random, it's actually hard sometimes. They literally have a random node, but it's only so random. I talked about the meme. Let me just show it to you. There was also this meme where I made the meme like, guys will live in an apartment like this or something. And it basically uses the same kind of geometry node setup. I use the basis as like the floor, and then I went and I created like, I think these are just arrays. if I'm smart. Nope, I went and I did it with geometry nodes because I'm extra. Yeah, these are the same concept. I take a grid, I use a noise texture to offset, and yeah, made a chair. Something. These are what I was looking for. These were fun. So when we're talking geometry nodes, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, forget about display the thing in a grid, whatever. Nah, man, let's make some animations. Let's make some stuff move and do some cool shit. Am I talking shit? Is this geometry nodes? Yeah, so okay. I was gonna say, I would have hated if this was hand animated or something. It kind of is. You can see that I do manual keyframes at some point, but it's mostly geometry nodes. Yeah, this one was fun. I don't know. I don't even know what I do with this. Oh, this one. Look at the... Yeah, you can see I had to do some special stuff with this one. Some special sauce. So each... You can think of this cube as 3 lines. Right? So I have one line that is the top and the bottom, like memory card. I have one line that is the left and the right memory card, and then I have another line that is the back memory cards, or like whatever. So it's basically for each 2 perpendicular faces, I've grouped them together. Don't know why I did that. I'm sure there's some method to this madness. Trust old Rio here. So like I said, 3 lines. That's what we're working with. And this group here basically creates a mesh line, like I said. And you can see I can create like more if I wanted. And it would give me that extra like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This creates that line. I use the line to create some instances with my cards. We pick the indexes, and I use like an outer offset so that I can basically have different colors for each like line and stuff. Rotate them based off of the integer. I don't know why I do this here. What happens? Oh, I flip them inside out. Look at that. And I think I avoid doing it with one of them for some reason. Yeah, if you look, one of the cards doesn't need it. So I actually say, like, basically look at the indexes. If it's more than 0, do it. But if it's 0, don't worry about it, because that one for some reason is not. So you can see we take that line, we create another line, and we rotate it slightly, or like offset it here. So that instead of it just, being stacked, I like rotate it around and make it this kind of like cube shape. And I do the same thing with the other one. I rotate that one around and I make this like cube shape. And I join all those together so it's just one mesh that I'm working with. I don't know why I had to realize the instances. This is probably very important. And then this one was very cool. I was having an issue basically where I was trying to rotate it at the center of the mesh. And when I join it together, I wonder if I can show you an example here without it. You can see like it offsets it to one of the sides, and it's not actually in the center of the mesh. And that's, I'm assuming, because I'm using like all these lines and I'm joining the meshes and I'm doing all this like weird math over here, and I'm not actually considering the, what do you call it? The bounding box and stuff of the geometry. So I had to go and basically find this like special math mix here that somebody posted in like some geometry node forum that does exactly what I'm talking about. It takes the bounding box of the mesh and it figures out what is the exact center point of that, and then it now converts the origin of the mesh to that point, so that now when we're rotating it, it's rotating in the center, and it's actually correct. This is a very useful node to have just in your like box whenever like the origin just gets off, because you're doing, like I said, like weird instance to mesh stuff. This was useful. Not my work. This was like some math that some other person made or something, but works really well. As you can see, this is the center point because it's the half part of the mesh or whatever. That's all I'll say about the math. I don't know. The math is pretty easy. You can see it's a bounding box. There's a min, there's a max. You're doing a distance calculation kind of, but you're not, because you're adding them together. And then scaling them by the negative factor, I guess, brings it into the center of that kind of like addition of the two, like what do you call it? Scalar values, X and Y values. And then basically for the rotation, it's kind of manual keyframes. I went and I was like, how will this actually rotate so that it will rotate in a way that you're seeing every color, and then also go back to the beginning so that it can repeat the animation and be like nice and swish for social media. So you'll see here I created a couple, there you go, a couple of keyframes. Just at the 0 point, one turning it, another turning it, and then one going all the way back to the beginning. And we go back to the beginning basically by setting it to 360, and that will reset the rotation basically because 360 is the full circle. So it works. Math. And then, the bounciness. That's just like something that comes with Blender. That's actually like a really nice one if you're ever looking to like really step up your animations and stuff. You just select your keyframes, ideally all of them. You go to interpolation mode, and you can set it to bounce. And that's what I'm doing here, where it's creating this kind of effect. I wonder if I can show you here. You can see in this graph, that didn't help. You can see that it does this like bouncy animation to each keyframe, and it'll automatically figure out like how to interpolate that bounciness and that distance and stuff. It's really nice, really handy. I've created some really like interesting looking like stuff with it. I did like colored BGs where I just basically put them all on like a colored background and made them spin and stuff. It's like super standard, but just had to do it. I made like GIFs. So I actually had to render them all out on a transparent background so that I could render out a GIF for Giphy. That was pretty swish. Literally just using Cycles renderer. You turn off all the backgrounds. You turn off the ray visibility for your HDR map if you have an HDR map in the background. And you got yourself a transparent background. It's pretty nice. But let's get into the mini disc a little bit. How about it?